Question 31 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, franchise can be described as the right to option A, vote at elections, option B, form political parties, option C, vote and be voted for, option D, contest in election. Now to answer this question, let's define franchise. Franchise may be defined as the political right of qualified adult male or female citizen of a given country to vote and be voted for in any political election. So our correct answer is option C, the right to vote and be voted for. Question 32 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, a major factor that necessitates the adoption of federalism in Nigeria was the option A, intention of creating states, option B, diversity of culture and language, option C, abundance of natural resources, option D, low level of illiteracy. Now the correct answer to this question is option B, diversity of culture and language, because it was very difficult to run a state that had so many different cultures with unitary system. So federalism was the best option because only federal system can bring about the peaceful coexistence among the different ethnic groups. Question 33 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, the office of the Prime Minister in Nigeria was created in option A, 1951, option B, 1954, option C, 1959, option D, 1957. Now, there were 3 cabinets before Nigerian independence. The first was established in 1957 when Balewa was appointed the Prime Minister by the British Governor General. The second was formed after the general elections of December 1959, just before independence, in a coalition government. And the third was formed after the disputed general elections of December 1964 and was dissolved after the military coup of 15th January 1966. Now, the correct answer to this question is option D. On August 30th, 1957, the Governor General of Nigeria, Sir James Wilson Robertson, announced that Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa had been appointed Prime Minister of Nigeria. So the office of the Prime Minister in Nigeria was created the next day, which was September 1st, 1957, immediately after the 1957 London Constitutional Conference. Question 34 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, the Nigerian police is an agency of the option A, judicial arms of government, option B, Ministry of Defense, option C, executive arm of government, option D, Ministry of Interior. Now the correct answer to this question is option C, executive arm of government. The executive is the arm of government vested with the authority to implement and enforce the law made by the legislature. The executive is the center of government who initiates, executes policy, and supervises the day-to-day administration of the state. Members of the executive include the president, the prime minister, the governor, minister, commissioners, and other officials and civil servants, such as the armed forces, the police, and so on and so forth. So we can see that the police is an agency of the executive arm of government. Question 35 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, the legislature checked the excesses of the executive through option A, appointment of civil servants, option B, screening of governors, option C, scrutiny of the budget, option D, nomination of judges. Now the correct answer to this question is option C, scrutiny of budget. The legislature checks the excesses of the executive by scrutinizing the budget. They scrutinize by inviting the honorable ministers who are representing their various ministries at the level to defend that which they are to spend, how they are to spend it, and what the money is meant for. So they scrutinize by checking their excesses. So as a minister, you won't be given a budget of 2 billion and at the end of the day, you end up not using the money properly. So you must answer questions on how you want to spend the money, how much you want, and why you want it, so that at the end of the day, you won't just carry the money for development and put in your own private pocket. So the correct answer is option C. Question 36 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, government by the best citizen is referred to as option A, aristocracy, option B, democracy, option C, oligarchy, option D, plutocracy. Now the correct answer to this question is option A, aristocracy. Aristocracy is a government ruled by the best and most preferred person in the state. It is a system of government dominated by people of noble birth or class. So our answer is option A. Question 37 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, the charter establishing the African Union was signed in option A, Togo, option B, Libya, option C, South Africa, option D, Ethiopia. Now, the Organization of African Unity, OAU, is what is now African Union, and it was established on the 25th of May 1963 at Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. And the charter of the organization was signed on that occasion by the head of state and government of 32 African states. The organization was established to promote the unity and solidarity of African countries. So our correct answer to this question is option D, Ethiopia. The charter was signed by heads of state and government of 32 African states at Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. Question 38 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, in Nigeria, items in the exclusive list are under the jurisdiction of option A, regional government, option B, central government, option C, local government, option D, state government. Now, there are three lists that government legislates on. We have the residual list, we have the executive list, and we have the concurrent list. The residual lists are for local government. The exclusive lists are in the jurisdictions of the central government, while the concurrent lists are for the central and state government. Now, from this question, items in the exclusive list are under the jurisdiction of, so our correct answer is option B, the central government. Question 39 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, which of these factors motivated colonialism in Africa? Option A, cultural superiority. Option B, scientific superiority. Option C, humanitarianism. Option D, economic interest. Now, the correct answer to this question is option D, economic interest. Economic interest was one of the major factors that motivated colonialism in Africa. Now, before the 80s, Europeans had already gone ahead of the rest of the world in science and technology. So Europeans of the 19th century became the workshop of the world with growing desire for raw materials for their industries. So the competitive search for markets and sources for raw material that was growing in Europe only affected European attitude to African. But by the late 19th century, the concern about sourcing raw materials and market had become a serious issue in most European countries. So the scramble for Africa by this European country led to the partition of Africa at the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885. So with this, we can see that the factor that motivated colonialism in Africa was based on economic interests. Question 40 of JAMB 2016 government exam says, the responsibility of giving policy guidelines to the Board of Corporation rests with the option A, Board of Directors, option B, Minister, option C, Chairman, option D, Permanent Secretary. Now, the correct answer to this question is option A, the Board of Directors. The Board of Directors is responsible for giving policy guidelines to the Board of Corporation. The board is made up of appointed directors who initiate and formulate policy for the corporation.